This is the remains of a boat called the Gem, named after George and Emma Fulmer. The boat was built in Moulty, Indiana by a fellow named Stephen Moulton Babcock Fulmer. And with a name like that, he went by his nickname, Moulty. Fulmer got into river running early, and in World War II, he was stationed in Corvallis, Oregon. One Sunday, he left the camp he was stationed at, and he met with a McKenzie River boat builder named Woody Heineman. And Heineman was building McKenzie River Dories. And the light bulb went off in the quiet Hoosier's mind. And he headed back to Muncie, and after the war, started building McKenzie Dories. His first boat, called the Moja, short for Moulty, and his wife Janice, the M-O-J-A, the Moja, was this same length, a little under 16 feet long, but it was a foot narrower. Fulmer wanted a boat for Grand Canyon. He wanted to take a dory through Grand Canyon, so he built the Gem just for that purpose. And he built it a foot wider. Fulmer's first run through the Grand Canyon in this boat was in 1955. He ran it again through the Grand Canyon in 1956. And in 1957, on 124,000 cubic feet a second, he and another river runner named Ples Talmadge Riley, on that biggest water that the river has ever been run, stopped at Phantom Ranch. They hiked back in 1958, the next year, put their boats back in the water at Phantom Ranch, and headed downstream. Pat Riley had two boats, and one of the boats was lost when it flipped in Doris Rapid. So now they had 3 boats worth of people jammed on 2 boats, and they got to Lava Falls, and Pat Riley decided they were going to hike out. So they kicked their boats into the river, hiked out, and went to Lake Mead, rented a little motorboat, and upran looking for their boats. Pat found his 2 boats, but Moulty Fulmer's boat, the Gem here, wasn't found. The Gem wasn't found until 1964. So from 1958 to 64, 6 years, that boat was buried under the waters of Lake Mead. Well, in 1963, the bypass gates for Glen Canyon Dam closed, and water started to be trapped behind Glen Canyon Dam. And Lake Mead, downstream of the new dam, dropped to record low levels. And that's when the Gem was discovered by a Park Service ranger on patrol in a place called God's Pocket, where the fishing was good and there was some nice shade. And they actually just tied the boat to the ranger patrol boat and drove it on out back to Boulder City, and they put it in a garage, and it sat there for another 8 years until negotiations began to move the boat from the protection of Lake Mead National Recreation Area to Grand Canyon National Park. What's really nice about this boat is it's the only boat in the collection where you can see the inner workings of a boat. Well, let's go through that. Fulmer was trying to make this boat wider with the same length, and as he wrapped the plywood around the sides on this ladder frame construction with bulkheads, and then you wrap the plywood around the bulkheads, because of this huge width, the plywood started to break. So he made a little transom here at the end. He put a little grab bar on it, just like Norm Neville's had. And Fulmer had these airtight compartments where you couldn't store any gear, but they were sealed tight with caulk. And so if the boat flipped, it wouldn't sink. So here's the seat, and the front of the boat is toward the transom. This is a hatch cover here. Not waterproof, but water resistant. Here's the inside of the same hatch cover. And this is a main storage area for gear. One of the things that Fulmer didn't like about Norm Neville's boat was the big footwell. So what Fulmer did was he built side boxes for storage. You can see where the roof of the side box went with that line there where the blue paint stops. And Fulmer put a hole right here in the side of the boat. So when the water came into the boat, it would sheet down the side of the box, and the box was angled this way as well, and the water would exit through what's called a scupper. And he did that on both sides, and you can see way across the way, there's the scupper over there for that side box. So there's storage now in the middle of the boat, in the boatman's footwell. This area would have to be bailed, and quickly, because the water would seep through the front hatch. There's a chamber in here for more storage. For the first time, there's a nice comfy seat for a passenger, and then there's 1, 2, 3 airtight chambers that were used for buoyancy. So you have to really use your imagination with this boat. So look at this little back deck board and imagine it extending over here all the way to that line and extending here over there. And this entire front section was decked over as well. When Fulmer needed to, he could run 2 passengers in this boat, 1 person on the back seat and 1 other passenger up front. Moulty Fulmer and Pat Riley, Ples Talmadge Riley, first met to run Grand Canyon in 1954. When they showed up at Lee's Ferry to launch their trip, high water had already come and gone, and the river was only flowing 9,000 cubic feet a second, just like it does today. Well, back then, before the dam, they looked at that water and said, too low, we're not going to run Grand Canyon. Fulmer then took this boat and went up to the gates of Lodore and ran it through Lodore and Whirlpool and Split Mountain. He did that with A.K. Reynolds. Reynolds was doing a commercial trip and Moulty joined the group. Reynolds had 2 boats, and one of the boats rammed into Moulty's boat right there. And what's really interesting is Fulmer has used a piece of fiberglass to patch the hole that went right through the boat. And he's patched it with fiberglass on both the inside and the outside. So fiberglass is coming along as a tool to be used by boat builders.